Oil change today on the 2017 Honda CR-V. First, make sure that you have the vehicle elevated sufficiently. I have the rear wheels chalked. I also have extra supports under here, just in the event that one of the ramps, plastic ramps, should collapse. First, the metal cover comes off. You have to loosen these two crosshead screws, and then there's 1, 2, 3 on each side. There's a crosshead in the back, and then 3 more of the flathead screws over here to remove this access cover. It is important to note that these are simply, the flathead ones are simply quarter turn. So just turn it 90 degrees, and then at gravity, you may have to work it out a little bit, but be careful not to damage it. So that you'll note that there were 3 of the crosshead fasteners. There was one right here, one next to it in the front, and then one in the center at the back. And I like to keep everything kind of neatly. Next, the panel will simply fall away like that. I prefer to do the oil change myself because Hondas are very user-friendly to do the oil change. Second of all, you don't have these guys at these quick lube places that seem to think it's the Indianapolis 500 pit stop, and you can take your time to make sure the job is done correctly without losing any fasteners. Honda even took the extra pain to cast into the oil pan engine oil. And then here's the 17mm drain plug. There are a number of different tools one can use to remove the oil filter. This has always been my favorite, but the band clamp types work well as the ones that are almost like a socket that goes on here. I have one here that I like to use. And this is the new filter. Of course, I always check it against the new filter to make sure that it's the right size. This is the type I prefer to use, and what I've done is I've actually written on the side Honda. Of course, then you just take a 3/8 ratchet on there to enable removal. The drain plug, we're going to renew the crush seal ring. In this case, it's an aluminum one. And I've already tried to remove it with this, and it's not getting a good grip. It just keeps spinning on it. So we will go back to our trusted clamp like this. And for removal, it's simply a matter of getting your tool up in place and getting a bite, and then squeezing it and turning it counterclockwise. If I can do this without the use of a tripod. There we go. Once it starts to break free, you want to get your oil pan into position to begin to catch the spent oil. Now here's where it might get a little bit messy, but just be patient. Now you can start turning it, and you're going to start seeing some of the oil dripping out. Of course, we're able to catch it here. I usually let it drain for a moment, because in this case the engine oil is warm. And then we just go ahead, and it's going to be a little messy, but we'll go ahead and remove the filter. Being careful not to let it drop, because if it drops, it's going to splash that oil in your face. So there's a number of threads in there, so be patient. And then it's just a matter of taking this and turning it upside down into the catch pan. Next step is to put a little bit of oil on your finger and put it around the perimeter of the gasket surface on here. Now, one of the things we're going to do when we go back underneath the car is to make sure that that gasket is either still on the filter and not on the machine surface on the block. Being careful, since it's a machine surface, those are going to be razor sharp edges, so be very gentle. You can tell by looking that there is no rubber gasket on there, and also you can see the old gasket in place on the filter, on the old filter here. So we're good. Now the next process will be just to simply clean off this mating surface Again, being careful because those are machine surfaces and they can be extremely sharp. The other thing I like to do is just kind of wipe any of this around here, around the perimeter as well. And now you're ready to install the new filter. The new filter just goes on like this. Typically, they say once you feel it to start to seat, like right there, and of course you can see some identification markings on here. Once it reaches this point, you want between 3/4 and 1 full turn to make sure that it's sealed. So there's a 1/4, there's a 1/2, there's 3/4. I did that by hand, and now I'm probably going to need the assistance of a rag or something just to go a little bit more. And we're about, I'd say, 7/8. So it's hand tight, and that's as tight as you need to go. I want to reiterate to follow the manufacturer's recommendation. I am probably a little bit overly cautious. I put this on here. Some people say don't do it. I just like to give it just a little bit more, just a few degrees, so that I know that that thing is, that filter's not going to come off. So here's the old seal ring, aluminum washer. Don't be tempted to reuse it because, again, these material does not rebound. Once it squeezes, it doesn't rebound unless you heat it and do all kinds of other crazy things. These are very inexpensive at the dealer. I buy them a half a dozen or so at a time. Matter of fact, there's the part number. And again, this is for a Honda 2017 CR-V. We have our new gasket, our crushed seal ring, and it's in place. This, sometimes I throw them in my washer assortment just to be used for something else, but never again for sealing the oil pan drain plug. Okay, next, this is almost done dripping, but basically I like to wipe everything all around here just to make sure that the surface is all clean as possible. Reinstalling the drain plug is simple. Just thread it in as far as you'll go by hand, and then get your wrench and torque it down enough to crush the copper seal ring. Remember, this is aluminum, so you don't get too carried away. It's a carbon steel bolt, and I'll reveal on the bottom of the picture here the proper torque for this engine. Next step is to remove the oil fill cap. Put it someplace safe where it's not going to fall into something, and then fill it with the appropriate amount of oil. In our case, it says between 4.7 and 5 quarts. Usually I prefer to put in just a little bit less, and then start the engine, check for leaks, and then get the engine back on level pavement, shut the engine off, check the oil level again, and top it up accordingly. Okay, the engine's running. And she looks dry over here. The drain plug is also looking nice and dry up there at the oil filter valve. So now I think we can button up the bottom and call it good. Take your time during the reassembly process, and first, I like to install these two in the front and the one in the center rear, the crosshead screws, relatively loose at first. That gives you some adjustment. So when these simply pop in and quarter turn to the right to lock in place. And that's it. So now we're all put back together here. And what you're seeing, by the way, that's not oil leaking. That's the air conditioning condensate dripping. Okay, the final step was to get the vehicle off the ramps, back onto level pavement. We'll get the ramps put away over there to the side. And we've allowed the engine to sit for a couple of minutes to now check the level on the oil. So the level is supposed to be between the two marks. The bottom mark being the minimum, the top mark being full, and it's showing to be about a 1/2 quart low. Okay, we pulled the dipstick out the first time, wiped it off with the paper towel, and now we're going to check it a second time. And you can see that we are at the top of the mark, so we're good. Final item is to make sure that your cap is tight. And your final job then will be to reset the oil life. And now it's reading 100%. So now we can, and it also eliminated the little wrench light on the upper part of the dash.